Fearlessness is like a muscle. I know from my own life that the more I exercise it, the more natural it becomes to not let my fears run me. Ariana Huffington. DZ Tribe, Josh Thomas. So glad to have you here. Be sure to follow and subscribe on Apple or Spotify. Wanted to let you know this podcast is brought to you by Unbreakable Teams. We use a science-backed process to triple your company's productivity without additional costs so you can buy back your time. To learn more about how we can help you dominate the next 12 months, head over to unbreakableteams.com. Once again, that's unbreakableteams.com. And so I have a question for you today. What is the story of your life? What's the first thing that comes to mind when I ask you that question? When anybody asks you that question? Hey, tell me about you. Tell me all about you. What is there to know about you? And what's the first thing that comes out of your mouth? Why is that thing, that moment, that event, that perspective, whatever it is that you said, why is that the thing that you pick to say first? How did that moment, that event, that perspective shape you as a person? Have you ever thought about that? The story of your life, it's up to you. You determine what your story is. Nobody else can, unless you're dead. And then somebody else can tell your story, and you're not there to defend yourself. If you think about it, anytime that you've read a biography, it's somebody else telling the story of somebody else's life from their own perspective. Yeah, they might be digging up facts and that sort of thing, but somebody who is digging up facts and doesn't like this person can tell that story in a certain way. And somebody who's digging up facts and does like that person can tell the story in a completely different way, and you can have two different versions of the story. And then there's a third version of the story, which is yours. And the story of your life even is a little bit unreliable because it's based on your perception and your thoughts and your opinions, which may or may not be true. And they may or may not be as accurate as you think they are. So who are you really? What is the story of your life? Thankfully, if you're listening to this podcast, there's a good chance that you're still alive. And if you're still alive, you still have the overwhelming majority of control over what the story of your life is, even if it's just your opinion. And so what I want you to do is I want you to think hard about the story that you're sharing with the world about who you actually are. Who are you as a person? Was there some kind of traumatic event that happened to you as a child or as an adult that you have allowed to form you in some way? There's lots of different things that could have happened. Some of them horrific. Some of them mildly uncomfortable. Sorry about that. But how has that shaped you? How has that determined your opinion of who you are and your place in the world? Well, I grew up broke. Didn't have any opportunities, and so I'm just doing the best that I can, trying to scrape by, because that's just the hand that life dealt me. Is that your story? I was in an abusive relationship, and it just was unhealthy and toxic, and it really set me back, and I spent 20 years there, and now I'm just getting out, and I'm trying to figure things out on my own. Is that your story? I fought hard, and I scrapped my way up to the top, and I did everything that I could to make sure that I could fit in and succeed, despite the fact that I had a shitty past, despite the fact that I was in a terrible relationship, despite the fact that, etc., 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 I still won. Is that your story? What is that story that you're telling? First to yourself, and next to everyone else around you. I promise you the details matter. Why are you leaning on those things that you're leaning on? Is it good or is it bad? Only you get to decide. Are you leveraging something negative from your past to turn it into something positive? Are you leveraging something positive from your past and turning it into something negative? Are you seeking glory or pity from the things that have happened in your life? There's no right or wrong answer here, but it's important to assess. It's important to review, and it's important to understand that that story that gets told about you while you're still alive, you have an incredible influence over it. And you get to decide how it ends. You get to decide the plot twists. You get to decide if it's a comedy or a tragedy or a romance love novel or like a horror film. You get to decide what that is. And so what are you deciding and why? What was that moment that you chose, or that perspective that you chose at the beginning of this exercise that said, well, the story of my life is blah, blah, blah? Why'd you say that? It's okay that you did, but why? We have to ask ourselves these questions because sometimes we don't realize how powerful our minds actually are in controlling our life, especially the stories we tell about them. I can tell a story about your life if I know you. I can look at you and I can say, well, the story of Gene's life is X, Y, and Z. And you can decide to agree with me or not, but it's just my perspective. Same thing with you. Well, the story of my life is X, Y, and Z. And you can decide that that's how your life is, but it's just your opinion. Maybe somebody else thinks something completely different of you.